Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to Sleepy Science Teller. I'm so glad you are here tonight. This is your safe space to rest, to learn gently, and to slowly drift into calmness. Tonight, we will explore the gentle science of memory, that quiet and marvelous process through which your mind holds onto experiences, thoughts, and feelings. Memory is what ties your past to your present and guides you softly into your future. Let's wander together through its mysteries slowly and peacefully. Before we begin, if you like, share with me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is for you right now. It's always comforting to know how far these gentle stories travel, and if these calm explorations bring you peace. I kindly invite you to like this video and to subscribe so you never miss another bedtime discovery. Memory is like the soft fabric that holds together the story of your life. Every moment, every smile, every word spoken by someone you love is held gently within you. When we speak of memory, we are not only talking about dry facts and stored information, we are talking about the tender way your mind preserves experience. Imagine if you were to wake tomorrow and every memory were gone. The faces you know, the paths you walk, even the language you speak would feel unfamiliar. This is how important memory is. It is the invisible thread weaving together your identity. Scientists describe memory as the brain's ability to encode, to store, and later to retrieve information. But behind those scientific terms, there is something more delicate, more human. Because when you recall a childhood laugh or the scent of a warm kitchen or the feeling of rain on your skin, it is not just information, it is life itself. One way to think of memory is as a great lantern in the dark. Without it, each day would be a lonely island cut off from yesterday. But with memory, light extends backward, linking you to who you have been, and forward, guiding who you will become. In many ways, memory is the essence of time inside us. It is not something you can hold, yet it holds you gently in every moment. Let us bring this closer through quiet stories you may recognize. A child learning to ride a bicycle. At first, the wobbles are many, the falls frequent, but slowly, with each try, the brain begins to remember. Balance is practiced, the pedals turn with less thought, and finally, the child rides freely down the street. What was once impossible is now natural thanks to memory. Or picture an elderly woman sitting quietly by the window. In her hand, she holds an old photograph, perhaps of her wedding day, many decades ago. As she looks at it, her mind gently stirs, and the memory is not just a picture. She recalls the smell of flowers in her bouquet, the nervous tremble in her hands, the sound of laughter surrounding her. The photograph is only a spark, but memory brings a whole day back to life. And then there is you listening now. Perhaps you can recall the taste of your favorite food from a special meal long ago, or the moment you first walked into a place that will become dear to you. Notice how these recollections arrive gently, without effort. This is memory, always present, always working quietly beneath the surface of your life. In the soft science of memory, researchers often say that the act of remembering is not like playing a recording. It is more like painting again on the canvas of the mind. Each time you remember, you reconstruct the moment, filling in pieces from the past and the present together. That is why a memory may feel vivid one day and blurry another. Memory is alive, breathing with you. From perspective of neuroscience, memory is both astonishing and humbling. At its heart, memory depends on billions of nerve cells called neurons within the brain. Each neuron can reach out to thousands of others, forming pathways of connection. When you have an experience, a unique pattern of activity spreads across these connections. If the experience is meaningful or repeated, the pattern strengthens, and slowly a memory is born. What is beautiful is that memory is not stored in one single place. Different aspects of memory live in different regions of the brain. The smell of cinnamon rolls, for example, may be held in the olfactory regions, the warmth of the kitchen in sensory areas, the joy you felt in emotional centers such as the amygdala, and the overall story in the hippocampus, the organizer of memory. Together, all of these regions weave the full fabric of remembrance. It is like a symphony with many instruments playing at once. And when you recall, your brain replays a symphony, bringing back not just a fact, but a living experience. Some scientists believe memory evolved as a survival tool to help early humans remember which berries were safe, which paths led to shelter, and which animals were dangerous. But over time, it became far more than that. It became the vessel for language, for culture, for love, and for art. So when we ask, what is memory? The answer is both simple and profound. It is the brain's way of carrying the past into the present. It is a foundation of learning, the keeper of identity, and the gentle whisper that says, you have lived and you are still you. Every memory begins as a whisper of experience, a sound you hear, a sight you see, a word spoken softly, or a thought that passes like wind through the trees. For this fleeting experience to become part of you, it must first be encoded. Encoding is the process by which the brain takes in raw sensations and translates them into patterns it can hold. Think of it like writing with invisible ink. Your eyes capture light, your ears capture sound, your skin feels touch. But until the brain encodes them, they are like passing clouds. With encoding, those clouds take shape, forming the first outlines of memory. There are many kinds of encoding. Visual encoding, where images are stored. Acoustic encoding, where sounds are remembered. Semantic encoding, where meanings are held. And tactile encoding, where touch is preserved. For example, if you meet someone new and they tell you their name, you may repeat it in your mind, forming an acoustic memory. You may picture the letters in your mind, a visual trace, or you may connect the name to something meaningful. Perhaps it reminds you of a loved one, or of a story you once read. This is semantic encoding. The stronger the encoding, the more likely the memory will stay with you. The brain is selective. It does not encode every detail. When you walk down a busy street, you do not remember every car, every voice, every sign. Instead, your brain chooses what seems meaningful, important, or emotionally charged. Encoding is like the artist's sketch before a painting. It is the first outline of remembrance. Once a memory is encoded, it moves into storage. This is where the brain tucks it safely away, like placing a letter into a vast library of drawers. But this storage is not static. It is living. Memories are not filed away in one box, untouched. Instead, they are spread across networks of neurons. Each piece of a memory is stored where it belongs. The colors of sunset in one place, the warmth of the air in another, the joy you felt in yet another. Scientists often describe two forms of storage. Short-term storage, which is brief, fragile, and limited, and long-term storage, which is vast, enduring, and capable of lasting a lifetime. Storage can be strengthened when you revisit a memory, recall it, speak it, or rehearse it. You reinforce the neural connections. Like walking a forest path again and again, the trail becomes clearer Without this reinforcement, the path may fade until grass and leaves cover it once more. Consider how you might study for an exam. Reading something once, the information may fade quickly, but reading it again, speaking aloud, or practicing it in different contexts deepens storage. This is why teachers often encourage repetition, and why habits form through practice. Yet memory storage is also delicate. Sometimes old memories are reshaped when we recall them. The act of remembering is also the act of slightly rewriting, like a painter touching up a canvas, adding new strokes. This is why stories from the past may change over time, not out of dishonesty, but because storage itself is flexible, alive, and growing. The final stage is retrieval. It is the gentle art of bringing a memory back into the light. You may know the feeling well when a name sits on the tip of your tongue. The memory is there, tucked safely inside, but it will not step forward. And then suddenly it arrives, as if shyly entering the room of your awareness. Retrieval can be effortless, like remembering your home address or the face of a loved one, but it can also be slow, fragile, or incomplete. This depends on how well the memory was encoded and how well it was stored. There are different forms of retrieval. Recall, when you bring back information without prompts, such as answering an open question. Recognition, when you identify something familiar, such as a face in a crowd or a song you once knew. Relearning, when forgotten information returns more quickly the second time you encounter it. Think of a library again. Encoding is like writing the book. Storage is placing it on the shelves. And retrieval is walking back into the library, finding the right aisle, and pulling the book gently into your hands. There are moments when retrieval feels magical. A song plays on the radio, and suddenly you are 15 again, standing in your first classroom. The memory arrives unbidden, alive with sound and color. This is retrieval at its most beautiful, spontaneous, emotional, and deeply human. And sometimes retrieval does not come. A fact slips away. A face feels distant. A name is lost. This too is natural. A reminder that memory is not a machine, but a living, breathing process. So the three stages of memory, encoding, storage, and retrieval, together form the cycle of remembrance, a cycle that begins with experience, rests quietly in the brain, and returns to shape the person you are today. Short-term memory is like a small, delicate table in the mind. Upon it, you can place only a handful of items at once. A phone number whispered to you, a thought you mean to hold just long enough to speak, the name of someone you just met. Scientists often describe short-term memory as the brain's temporary workspace. It does not keep things for long, just a few seconds, or at most, a couple of minutes. But in that brief time, it allows you to live smoothly in the present. Imagine yourself reading a sentence in a book. As your eyes move from word to word, you do not instantly forget the beginning. Your short-term memory gently holds the earlier words until you reach the end of the sentence. Then the meaning is understood, and the memory may either fade away or move into longer storage. This fragile memory is sometimes called working memory because it does not only hold, it also works with what is held. It allows you to add numbers in your head, to follow directions from one street to the next, or to remember the beginning of a conversation while still listening to the end. But the table is small. Most people can only keep about 7 items in short-term memory at once, give or take 2. This is why phone numbers were often designed to have 7 digits. It fits neatly within the mind's natural limits. And just as a table can be bumped, Scattering what is on it, short-term memory is easily disrupted. A sudden noise, a distraction, or a shift of attention, and the fragile items slip away. Unless we rehearse them, repeat them, or write them down, they vanish like footprints in the sand. Let's look at how short-term memory quietly serves you in daily life. Picture yourself walking into the kitchen. You open the fridge and see eggs, milk, and butter. You hold these 3 items in mind, just long enough to gather them on the counter. This is short-term memory at work. Simple, quiet, and immediate. Or think of a conversation. When someone speaks a long sentence, your mind holds the first part until the end arrives. Only then can you understand the whole meaning. Without short-term memory, each phrase would fall apart, disconnected, like puzzle pieces scattered with no box to guide them. Consider the way you use directions. Turn left at the corner, then right at the park, then walk 2 blocks to the cafe. Your brain keeps these steps alive in short-term memory. Each one is carried just long enough to reach the destination. Once arrived, the memory is no longer needed and quietly fades. Even music relies on short-term memory. When you listen to a melody, the notes just played remain in your awareness, so that the next note has meaning in relation to the ones before. Without this brief holding, music will be nothing but isolated sounds. Short-term memory is, in a way, the stage upon which the present moment unfolds. It does not keep the playbill or the archives. Those belong to long-term memory, but it holds the actors and props just long enough for the scene to make sense. This is why it feels frustrating when you forget what you just walked into a room to do. The fragile table was knocked, the small collection of items scattered, and unless something reminds you, the purpose is gone, like mist dissolving in sunlight. From the perspective of science, short-term memory is both limited and remarkable. Experiments have shown that most people can hold about 7 pieces of information plus or minus 2. But with training and with techniques like chunking, this capacity can be stretched. For example, remembering a string of digits like 1945803 may feel difficult. But if you break it into 1945 and 2023, 2 meaningful chunks, suddenly it is easier. This is because the brain groups small bits into larger, more manageable wholes. Working memory, a closely related idea, goes beyond holding. It manipulates the items being held. For example, when you do mental arithmetic, you are not only keeping the numbers in mind, you are moving them around, combining, subtracting, comparing. This is a workspace where reasoning, planning, and decision-making quietly happen. Neuroscientists have traced working memory to areas of the prefrontal cortex. Here, patterns of electrical activity keep information active, not by permanent storage, but by ongoing firing of neurons, like a candle flame, kept alive only as long as it burns. Once the activity stops, the memory vanishes unless transferred into long-term storage. This explains why distractions can be so powerful. If you are solving a math problem in your head, and someone suddenly interrupts with a question, the fragile flame flickers, and the numbers you were holding may disappear. And yet, this fragile system is deeply important. It allows humans to hold ideas in mind, to connect them, to imagine and to plan. Without short-term and working memory, the bridge between perception and knowledge would collapse. Life will become a series of disconnected flashes, with no thread to weave them together. So, though small in capacity and fleeting in time, short-term memory is the stage upon which your present life is built. It is where thoughts are held, where understanding unfolds, and where the moment you're living becomes a story you will remember. If short-term memory is a small table, then long-term memory is a vast, endless library. Within it, every experience, every lesson, every story you have lived rests quietly on its shelves. Unlike the fragile flicker of short-term memory, long-term memory can last for months, years, or even a lifetime. Imagine walking into this library. Each aisle represents a part of your life. On one shelf, the books of your childhood, filled with first steps and first words. On another, the lessons of school, the faces of friends, the voices of teachers. Further along, volumes of journeys taken, laughter shared, and loves remembered. This is long-term memory, a treasure house of your existence. Scientists believe long-term memory has nearly limitless capacity. Unlike the short table that can hold only a few items, the library is room for millions, perhaps billions of experiences. You will never fill it completely. And though some books may gather dust and some shelves may fade, the library remains immense, waiting for you to wander its halls. But long-term memory does not simply appear fully formed. Every long-term memory begins as a fragile short-term one. If rehearsed, repeated, or made meaningful, the memory is carried across the bridge into long-term storage. Like a traveler moving from a small inn into a grand palace, the durability of long-term memory is striking. You may not recall what you had for breakfast last week, but you may vividly recall a song you loved as a teenager or the face of your childhood friend. This is because long-term memory does not just depend on time. It depends on meaning, emotion, and connection. Let's step softly into examples to feel how long-term memory lives within us. Think of your earliest memory. Perhaps it is a moment in a garden, a toy in your hand, or the voice of someone calling your name. Though decades may have passed, it lingers not in every detail, but in essence. That moment was etched into your long-term memory, becoming part of the foundation of your life. Or picture a musician sitting before an instrument. Their hands move with ease across the keys or strings. They are not thinking of every motion because the patterns live deep in procedural long-term memory. Years of practice have built pathways so strong. The music flows without conscious thought. And then imagine a student preparing for an exam. They study, repeat, practice. At first, the information lives in short-term memory, fragile and fleeting, but through review, sleep, and connection to meaning, the facts and concepts cross the bridge into long-term storage. Weeks later, when the exam arrives, they retrieve what has been carefully kept. There are also emotional memories. A wedding day, a graduation, the birth of a child, moments so powerful, they burn bright in memory for life. And sometimes moments of pain or loss which, though we might wish them gone, remain as part of the story we carry. Long-term memory is not only about knowledge, it is about identity. It is why you know who you are, where you belong, and how the pieces of your life fit together. It is why you can look in a mirror and feel, yes, I am the same person who lived those days, even if time has passed. From the scientific view, long-term memory is supported by changes in the very structure of the brain. When a memory forms, connections between neurons, called synapses, are strengthened. It is as if the pathways of the brain are carved more deeply, making it easier for signals to travel the same route again. The hippocampus, that small curved structure deep in the brain, plays a central role in moving memories from short-term to long-term storage. Without it, new memories cannot settle into permanence. This is why patients with damage to the hippocampus may live vividly in the present, but cannot form new long-term memories. They remember their childhood, their family, their past. But yesterday slips away, unable to cross the bridge into the library. Long-term memory is also divided into categories. Explicit memory, where you consciously recall facts and events. And implicit memory, where skills, habits, and learned responses live quietly without needing thought. Explicit memory is further divided into episodic memory, the stories of your life, and semantic memory, the knowledge of facts, meanings, and concepts. Implicit memory holds the motor skills, the habits, the reflexes together. These systems make long-term memory not a single library, but a network of libraries, each with its own shelves and guardians. Scientists continue to study how stable long-term memory truly is. Some memories remain sharp for decades, while others fade. But what is clear is that memory is not frozen. It is dynamic, alive, and constantly reshaped. Each time you remember, you do not simply open the book. You rewrite it ever so slightly, adding new details, losing others, blending the past with the present. And so, long-term memory is both a gift and a mystery. It anchors you in your story. It holds the lessons of time. And it reminds you, gently, that you are more than this present moment. You are the sum of all you have lived, carried softly within the library of your mind. Deep inside your brain, tucked away like a hidden treasure, lies a small, curved structure. It is shaped a little like a seahorse, and because of this, it was given the name hippocampus. In Greek, hippos means horse, and campos means sea monster. So the hippocampus is the seahorse of the brain. Though it is small, only a few centimeters long, its role is profound. It acts as a guardian of memory, guiding new experiences across the bridge, from a fragile present into lasting remembrance. Without the hippocampus, your brain could still live in the moment. You could still see, feel, hear, and think, but yesterday would slip away, and tomorrow would never be built from today. Your short-term experiences would never settle into the long-term library. One of the most famous stories in neuroscience is of a man known as H.M. In the 1950s, H.M. underwent surgery to remove parts of his hippocampus in hopes of easing severe epilepsy. The surgery succeeded in reducing his seizures. But afterwards, H.M. could no longer form new long-term memories. He remembered his childhood, his family, his past. But each new day was fragile, slipping from his mind as quickly as it arrived. This story taught scientists something profound, that the hippocampus is not where long-term memories live forever, but it is where they are first shaped, stabilized, and prepared for storage. Without it, the library of memory cannot grow. The hippocampus is, in a sense, the doorway through which experiences walk before finding their permanent home. To understand the hippocampus more deeply, imagine it as a careful organizer. When you live through a moment, your senses flood your brain with sights, sounds, feelings, and meanings. The hippocampus gathers these streams together, weaving them into a coherent memory. It does not keep the memory alone. Instead, it sends pieces to different regions of the brain, the colors of a scene to visual areas, the sounds to auditory areas, the emotions to the amygdala, and then it links them all so that when you recall one piece, the others return as well. Think of the hippocampus as a librarian. When a new book arrives, it decides where on the shelves it belongs. It does not hold every book in its hands, but ensures the library is well organized and that each volume can be found again. The hippocampus is also involved in spatial memory. It helps you remember where things are and how to navigate through the world. When you walk through a city or even around your own home, the hippocampus creates a mental map. This is why London taxi drivers, who must memorize thousands of streets, show enlarged hippocampi in brain scans. Their daily training literally strengthens the structure, shaping it through use. Another fascinating role of the hippocampus is in imagination. When you think of the future or imagine a scene that has not yet happened, the hippocampus helps to construct it. It is as though, by weaving together the past, it also grants you the power to picture what might come. So, the hippocampus is not just about memory. It is about connection, navigation, imagination, and the weaving together of life's details into a meaningful whole. Because the hippocampus is so important, its fragility has deep consequences. In Alzheimer's disease, for example, the hippocampus is often one of the first regions to be affected. This is why early symptoms include difficulty forming new memories. The doorway of the library is damaged, and though the shelves remain, new books can no longer be placed. Stress, too, can affect the hippocampus. High levels of stress hormones, such as cortisol, can shrink and weaken it over time. This is why chronic stress often leads to forgetfulness, confusion, or difficulty learning. Yet, with rest, calm, and nurturing, the hippocampus can heal and grow again. There is also a wonder in the fact that the hippocampus is one of the few brain regions capable of neurogenesis. That means, even in adulthood, new neurons can grow there. This suggests that our ability to form memories, to learn, and to adapt is not fixed. It can continue to blossom even as we age. Consider how the hippocampus works in your own daily life. When you remember where you parked your car, when you recall a conversation from yesterday, when you dream of tomorrow's plans, all of these rely upon the quiet work of the hippocampus. It is small but mighty, fragile yet essential, and without it, the story of who you are could not be carried forward. So, when we think of memory, we must honor the hippocampus, the seahorse of the brain, the gentle guardian at the doorway of remembrance, ensuring that what matters is not lost to the tides of time. When we speak of memory, we often imagine it as one single thing, a vast storehouse holding every thought, every sound, every face we have ever known. But memory is not one simple container. It is many, a collection of different forms, each with its own purpose, its own rhythm, and its own way of serving our lives. Scientists have long studied how these different types of memory work together, and though they overlap, each plays a unique role in how we remember. The first distinction we often make is between explicit memory and implicit memory. Explicit memory is the kind we are aware of. It is when you recall the capital of a country or the birthday of a friend. It is conscious, deliberate, and often verbal. When you know something and can say it aloud, that is explicit memory at work. Implicit memory, on the other hand, is quiet. It works beneath awareness. It guides the way you ride a bicycle or type on a keyboard, without needing to think of each motion. It is present when a song plays, and you feel an emotion rise without knowing why. Implicit memory is not spoken, it is lived. And within these two great categories, there are more subtle kinds. Some memories are tied to facts and knowledge. Others are tied to experiences and stories. Some guide your movements, and some shape your emotions gently, like currents in the background of your mind. It is almost like an orchestra. Each type of memory is a different instrument. The violin of facts, the cello of stories, the steady percussion of habits, the flute of feelings. Alone, each plays its own tune. Together, they create the music of who you are. Let's wander more deeply into these forms. The first, and perhaps the most personal, is episodic memory. This is the memory of your life's moments. Your first day at school, a conversation with a friend, the taste of a meal shared with family. These memories are tied to time and place, like chapters in the storybook of your life. Episodic memory gives you a sense of continuity. It lets you look back and say, "This happened to me. This is part of my story." Without episodic memory, the self begins to lose its threads, for it is these memories that stitch together your identity. Then there is semantic memory. This is different. It is not about events, but about knowledge. The fact that Paris is the capital of France, that 2 plus 2 equals 4, that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Semantic memory is like a vast encyclopedia, storing concepts and facts. It grows throughout life and often feels detached from specific times and places. You may not remember when you learned that the earth orbits the sun, but you know it and the knowledge remains. A third form is procedural memory. This is the memory of skills. It lets you ride a bike, play an instrument, or swim through water. Even if you haven't cycled for years, once you climb back on, your legs know what to do. Procedural memory is often implicit. You don't need to consciously recall each movement. Your body remembers, even if your mind is quiet. Each of these memories serves you differently. Episodic memory colors your past with meaning. Semantic memory fills your world with knowledge. Procedural memory empowers your body with skill. Together, they weave intellect, identity, and ability into a seamless whole. There are still more types to explore. One of the most fascinating is emotional memory. This is the way your brain ties feelings to experiences. When you hear a song that once played during a joyful time, and you feel warmth spread through you, that is emotional memory at work. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure near the hippocampus, helps anchor these feelings. It ensures that moments with strong emotions are remembered more vividly. This is why joyful celebrations or frightening events often stay with us longer than ordinary days. Then there is working memory. This is the memory of the present moment, the mental scratch pad you use to hold and juggle information as you think. When you solve a math problem in your head, when you follow directions while walking down a street, when you keep a sentence in mind as you finish reading it, that is working memory. Working memory is small but powerful. It allows you to reason, to plan, to imagine, and though it only holds a few pieces at once, it is the stage on which thought itself performs. So, when we look at memory as a whole, we see not one thing, but many. Episodic memory, telling your life story. Semantic memory, holding the facts of the world. Procedural memory, guiding your body's skills. Emotional memory, coloring moments with feeling. Working memory, managing the present. Each type is like a star in the constellation of the mind. Alone, each shines in its own way. Together, they form the beautiful pattern we call memory, a pattern that shapes who you are and how you live every single day. Every memory begins as a moment, a sound, a sight, a touch, or a thought entering through your senses. Your eyes gather light, forming images. Your ears catch vibrations, weaving them into sound. Your skin feels warmth or coolness, and your inner world stirs with feelings and reflections. All of these streams rush into the brain, like rivers flowing into a vast ocean. But not every ripple becomes a memory. Some vanish quickly, passing unnoticed. Others are captured, processed, and prepared for something greater. The very first stage is called encoding. This is where your brain decides how to take the raw information of the present and transform it into a form it can keep. Encoding can happen through images, through sounds, through meaning. If you see a red rose, your brain might store its shape and color visually. If you hear a friend's voice, it might encode the pattern of the sound. If you reflect on the meaning of a phrase you read, it might store the concept, not just the words. This process is not passive. Attention is a key. What you notice, what you focus on, is far more likely to be remembered. This is why when you're deeply engaged or emotionally moved, a moment imprints more strongly. The brain highlights it, like a bookmark placed carefully between the pages of time. Think of a classroom lesson. Think of a classroom lesson. If you listen passively, much may fade. But if you engage, ask questions, and connect the ideas to your own life, the information is encoded more deeply, ready to be retrieved later. At this stage, memories are delicate, like sketches drawn in sand. The tide of distraction or the passing of time can easily wash them away. But when the brain chooses to hold them, they move forward to the next stage, the stage of storage. Once encoded, a memory must be kept safe. This is a process called storage. But storage is not a single place, like a filing cabinet. Instead, it is a network. Different aspects of memory are stored in different regions of the brain. If you recall a day at the beach, the sound of the waves may live in auditory regions, the sight of the blue horizon in visual areas, the warmth of the sun in sensory cortex, and the joy of the moment in emotional centers, like the amygdala. The hippocampus binds these together, creating a coherent memory, so that when you recall one detail, the others return as well. The most important part of storage is consolidation. This is where fragile, short-term impressions are stabilized into long-term form. And one of the greatest helpers in consolidation is sleep. When you drift into slumber, your brain replays the patterns of the day. Neurons fire in familiar rhythms, as though rehearsing what has been learned. It is in these quiet hours that many memories are strengthened, woven more firmly into the tapestry of your mind. This is why studying before sleep or practicing a skill and then resting often helps you remember more clearly the next day. Your brain, in dreams and in silence, has been busy polishing the memory, anchoring it in place. But not all memories are treated equally. The brain often prioritizes those with emotional weight or practical importance. Moments of danger or joy are preserved more vividly than ordinary ones. It is as though the brain is saying, "This matters, hold on to this." Through consolidation, memories are no longer fragile sketches. They become ink on the pages of the mind's book, ready to be opened again long after the moment has passed. The final stage of memory is retrieval, the act of bringing a memory back into awareness. When you recall a friend's name, a childhood scene, or a piece of knowledge, you are retrieving. But here lies a beautiful truth. Memory is not like replaying a video. It is more like reconstructing a painting, stroke by stroke, each time you look at it. When you remember, your brain pulls pieces from different regions, the sights, the sounds, the emotions, and it weaves them together anew. This means that memory is flexible. Each act of remembering reshapes the memory slightly, sometimes making it stronger, clearer, more vivid, other times allowing small distortions to slip in. Have you ever shared a story with friends, and over the years the details shift? Perhaps the color of a car changes, or the exact words are forgotten. This is the nature of reconstruction. The memory remains true in essence, but the fine details can bend. And yet, this flexibility is not a flaw. It is part of what makes memory living. It allows you to integrate new understanding, to reshape old experiences in light of who you are now. Your memories are not frozen artifacts. They are active, evolving parts of you. This entire process, encoding, storage, retrieval, is how memories are formed. From fleeting impressions to lasting recollections. From the sparkle of a single moment to the enduring story of a lifetime. Every memory you carry has walked this path. Born in sensation, shaped by attention, stabilized in rest, and recalled in reconstruction. A gentle journey from the present into the timeless archive of the self. Forgetting it is something we all experience, quietly, every single day. You put your keys down and moments later, you can't recall where. You meet someone new, and their name slips from your mind before the conversation is over. You walk into a room and suddenly forget why you entered. At first, forgetting feels like a flaw, like the brain failing in its duty. But when scientists began to look more deeply, they discovered something profound. Forgetting is not simply weakness. It is also a function, a design, a way of keeping the mind balanced. Think of your brain as a vast library. Every day, new books arrive. The sounds of conversations, the sight of passing faces, the emotions of fleeting moments. If the library tried to keep every single scrap of detail, the shelves would overflow, and the important books would be buried in the noise. Instead, the librarian, your memory system, makes choices. It keeps what matters most and lets the rest quietly fade away. This quiet fading is forgetting, not always a failure, but often a gift. By letting go of some details, your brain makes room for clarity, for focus, for meaning. Scientists call this the forgetting curve, first described by Hermann Ebbinghaus in the 19th century. He discovered that memory fades rapidly after learning, and then the rate of forgetting slows over time. Imagine writing something in the sand at the edge of the sea. At first, the waves wash away much of the detail, but what remains after the first few tides often lingers for longer. Why does this happen? In part, because the brain saves energy. Holding every detail will be overwhelming, exhausting, and unnecessary. Instead, the brain prioritizes patterns, meanings, and repeated information. What you rehearse, recall, or connect to other knowledge is more likely to endure. What you touch only once may drift away. Yet, forgetting is not only about fading. Sometimes, memories are blocked, hidden, or even reshaped. You might have the memory inside you, but struggle to find the path to it. It is like standing in a foggy forest, knowing the tree is there, but unable to see it clearly. Forgetting, then, is not just a loss of memory. It is also the reshaping of access, the way the brain chooses what to hold close and what to allow to drift into the background. And in this mystery, there is beauty, because forgetting is not only what weakens memory, it is also what gives memory its shape, its focus, its meaning. To understand forgetting more deeply, scientists have identified several reasons why it happens. Each one reveals a different part of the brain's delicate balance. The first is decay theory. This idea suggests that memories, if not used, slowly fade with time. Like ink on old paper, the traces weaken. Neural connections that once fired strongly become quieter, until the pattern can no longer be retrieved. This explains why we forget things we learned long ago, but never revisited. A foreign word you memorized in childhood but never spoke again may now feel distant, unreachable. The second is interference. Sometimes forgetting happens not because a memory has vanished, but because other memories crowd it out. There are two main kinds: proactive interference, where old memories interfere with learning new ones, and retroactive interference, where new memories disrupt older ones. For example, if you change your phone number, you may find the old one slipping away because the new one takes its place. Or when you learn several similar facts, they may overlap, blurring the boundaries between them. The third cause is retrieval failure. The memory is still there, but the path to it is blocked. This is what happens in the tip of the tongue experience. You feel that you know the word, the name, the fact, but you cannot quite bring it forward. It lingers just out of reach, like a bird perched in the distance, visible but silent. Often, with time or a small cue, the pathway clears and the memory suddenly returns. Another form of forgetting is more intentional. Sometimes, the brain protects us by keeping certain memories hidden. Painful experiences, overwhelming traumas, may be stored but not easily accessed. This is called motivated forgetting. It is the mind's way of guarding you, letting you live without being constantly flooded by the weight of the past. And finally, there is forgetting as adaptation. Research shows that forgetting can actually improve learning by preventing overload. If your brain tried to hold every detail equally, it would be difficult to see patterns, to focus on what truly matters. By letting some details go, the brain highlights what is most useful. It clears the stage so the most important actors can shine. These scientific insights show us something gentle, that forgetting is not a failure of the mind, but a part of its rhythm. Like sleep and waking, remembering and forgetting are two sides of the same process. Together, they help the brain stay balanced, adaptive, and alive. Though forgetting can feel frustrating, it is not always an enemy. In many ways, it is a gift. Think of the vast flood of information you experience each day. The colors of passing cars, the exact shapes of clouds, the dozens of tiny details in a room. If you remembered them all with equal weight, your mind would drown in noise. Forgetting filters the world, letting the meaningful rise above the ordinary. It is forgetting that allows you to focus. When you study, your brain forgets distractions so that the main idea can stand clear. When you work, it forgets yesterday's clutter, so today's task can shine. Forgetting also allows healing. Imagine if every painful moment, every mistake, every embarrassment stayed vivid and sharp forever. Life would feel unbearable, a constant replay of wounds. Instead, forgetting softens the edges. It lets the sting fade until the memory becomes a gentler shadow, rather than a wound that bleeds again and again. There's also a creativity in forgetting. By loosening your hold on some details, your brain can form new connections, new patterns, new ideas. It is forgetting that allows imagination to reweave old memories into something fresh. A painter may not recall every detail of sunset, but forgetting allows him to paint its feeling, its essence, its beauty. Even in science, forgetting is seen as vital. A 2021 study suggested that forgetting is not a bug, but a feature. It keeps our memories flexible, adaptable, ready to reshape themselves as the world changes. If we remembered everything, we might become rigid, unable to let go of old patterns that no longer serve us. By forgetting, we remain open to growth, to change, to learning anew. So, the next time you forget where you place your keys or the details of a dream, or the exact words of a conversation. You might smile gently and remember that forgetting is part of being human. It is part of how your brain keeps balance, filters meaning, and softens the weight of time. Forgetting is not the opposite of memory. It is the quiet partner of memory. Together, they shape the gentle dance of the mind. Holding on and letting go, remembering and forgetting, both essential to the story of who you are. When we think of sleep, we often imagine it simply as rest, a time when the body slows down, the eyes close, and the world drifts away into silence. But sleep is not just an escape from waking life. It is an active, living process, one that transforms the fragile sparks of your daily experiences into lasting constellations of memory. Every day, your brain gathers impressions. The words you read, the faces you see, the emotions you feel. These delicate imprints first live in short-term form, fragile, like chalk sketches on a board. But when night comes and you surrender to sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain begins to replay, reorganize, and strengthen these sketches, turning them into permanent ink, into stable threads woven into the fabric of your mind. This is why sleep is often called the secret architect of memory. While you dream, while you drift, while you rest in the soft dark, your mind is alive with quiet construction, building bridges between neurons, solidifying patterns, and shaping the story of who you are. Scientists discovered this link through fascinating experiments. When people learn a list of words or a new skill and then stay awake through the night, their memory of what they learned is fragile, easily lost. But when the same learning is followed by a night of deep, restful sleep, the memories are clearer, stronger, more enduring the next day. It is almost as though sleep is the soil, and memory is the seed. Without rich soil, the seed withers. But with deep, nourishing rest, the seed takes root, grows strong, and blooms in the garden of the mind. The first stage of this process is encoding, when the memory is born during waking hours. But the second stage, consolidation, depends deeply on sleep. This is when short-term traces are transferred into long-term stability, a fragile spark becoming a lasting flame. So when you close your eyes at night, you are not leaving life behind. You are stepping into a laboratory within yourself, where memories are carefully sorted, tested, polished, and preserved. Sleep is not simply a pause in memory. It is the very breath that keeps memory alive. To truly understand how sleep shapes memory, we must look closer at its stages. Sleep is not one uniform state. It is a cycle, moving through different phases, each with its own role in memory's journey. The first stage is light sleep. Here, your body begins to relax. Your breathing slows. Your heart beats more gently. In this stage, your brain starts to shift from the alertness of day into the rhythms of night. Though memories are not yet deeply processed, light sleep serves as a doorway. It allows the body and brain to enter the deeper phases where memory work truly begins. Next comes deep sleep, also known as slow-wave sleep. Here, the brain's electrical activity slows into long, sweeping waves. It is during this stage that the hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped guardian of memory, becomes especially active. It replays the day's experiences, almost like rehearsing them, sending them outward to the neocortex, where they are integrated and stored more permanently. Imagine the hippocampus as a teacher, reading the day's lessons aloud once more, while the students, the cortical regions, carefully take notes. In this way, deep sleep consolidates factual knowledge, skills, and experiences. It is particularly powerful for declarative memory, the memory of facts, words, and events. Then comes REM sleep, the stage of vivid dreams. Here, the brain becomes highly active again, almost as if it is awakened, though the body remains still and at rest. REM sleep plays a unique role in emotional memory, creativity, and integration. It takes the raw materials of the day and weaves them into patterns, connecting old knowledge with new insights, linking facts with feelings and memories with imagination. This is why REM sleep is often linked to problem solving and creativity. Artists, scientists, and writers throughout history have described waking from dreams with solutions, with visions, with breakthroughs that came in sleep's embrace. So, the journey of memory through sleep is a cycle. Light sleep opens a door. Deep sleep rehearses and stabilizes. REM sleep integrates, connects, and inspires. All night long, you move through these stages in waves, repeating the cycle, each one refining, strengthening, and reshaping the architecture of your memories. And in the morning, when you wake, you are not the same as when you lay down. Your mind has been gently sculpted by the night, your memories pruned, polished, and rooted more deeply into who you are. Now that we see how sleep cradles memory, let's reflect on why this matters so deeply. When sleep is abundant and restful, your memory thrives. You recall facts more easily. You learn new skills more quickly. You feel more balanced and clear. Your mind, like a well-tended garden, blossoms with clarity and growth. But when sleep is cut short, the opposite unfolds. Memories remain fragile, easily forgotten. Learning feels harder, slower, less steady, and emotions become tangled as the brain has less time to process and soothe them in dreams. Sleep deprivation has been shown to mimic some of the memory difficulties seen in aging. When we lose sleep, even temporarily, our hippocampus struggles. It cannot replay the day's lessons as effectively. And without rehearsal, without rest, the memories remain scattered, unstable, like seeds tossed on hard soil. Yet, the story is not only about what happens when sleep is lost. It is also about the deep gift of what happens when sleep is honored. Consider the practice of students preparing for exams. Those who study late into the night, sacrificing sleep, often find their minds hazy the next day. But those who study, then sleep, often recall with far greater strength. The brain has quietly done half the work while they rested. Or think of musicians practicing a new piece. The progress is not only in the hours of practice, but also in the sleep that follows. During dreams, the patterns are reinforced, the skills polished, the performance strengthened. Even emotions are shaped by sleep. Have you ever gone to bed troubled, only to wake feeling lighter, calmer, more able to face the challenge? This is because sleep helps integrate emotional memories, softening the intensity while preserving the meaning. In this way, sleep does not only strengthen memory, it shapes wisdom. It helps you carry knowledge not just as facts, but as understanding, not just as experiences, but as insights. So, when we think of memory, we must remember that sleep is not a luxury. It is not wasted time. It is one of the deepest investments you can make in your mind. Each night you rest, you are giving your brain the chance to weave your life into story, to polish your learning into skill, to soften your emotions into wisdom, and to cradle your identity with gentle, unseen hands. Sleep is not the absence of memory. It is the quiet work of memory, the night shift of the mind, working tenderly as you dream. So when you lay your head down tonight, remember that you are not leaving life behind. You are stepping into the very workshop of memory. where every dream, every breath, every cycle of sleep is quietly shaping the story of who you are and who you will become when you pause and ask yourself, who am I? The answer is not in your reflection in the mirror, not in the clothes you wear, not even the name you carry. The answer lies in your memory. You are the sum of the moments you've lived, the laughter that filled your childhood, the warmth of your first friendship, the lessons that shaped your heart. Without memory, you would still exist, but you would not be you. Imagine walking through a quiet garden at dusk, the flowers glowing softly, the air cool and still. As you pass, you notice a small pond, its surface shimmering with reflected light. When you lean closer, the reflection shows not just your face in this moment, but echoes of all the versions of yourself that came before. This is what memory is, a mirror that reflects not only the present, but the past. Every smile, every tear, every lesson, every dream gently shimmering beneath the surface. Often we think memory is only about big events, graduations, weddings, milestones. But some of the most beautiful memories are the small, almost invisible ones. The sound of a loved one's voice calling your name. The smell of food cooking on a quiet evening. The way sunlight streamed through your window on a childhood morning. These small moments remind us that memory is not only a tool for survival, it is a reservoir of beauty, a way of carrying joy and meaning across the years. Neuroscientists sometimes call memory the glue of identity, because without it, we are unanchored, floating, with no sense of where we've been or who we are. But with it, life becomes a story. Each day another page, each year another chapter, each memory another thread weaving the tapestry of self. And this tapestry is not made only of perfect patterns. It is made of imperfections too, mistakes, regrets, lessons learned the hard way. Yet even these are beautiful, for they show our growth, our change, our humanity. Memory is not only personal, it is also shared. It is the invisible thread that binds families, friends, and even entire cultures together. Think of the way stories are told around a dinner table. One sibling remembers a childhood trip one way. Another sibling remembers it slightly differently. Together, their memories weave into a shared fabric, richer than either one alone. Parents pass down stories to children. Children carry those stories forward, shaping them, retelling them. In this way, memory becomes a bridge across generations, a way of saying, we belong, we continue, we are connected. Beyond families, entire cultures are carried on the shoulders of memory. Through myths, songs, traditions, rituals, each one a vessel holding centuries of human experience. Without collective memory, culture fades, but with it, music, language, and wisdom echo across time, keeping the past alive and present. There is a quiet beauty in remembering together when old friends reunite and say, do you remember that time? Laughter flows, not because the story itself is so grand, but because memory has created a bond that time cannot erase. Even when loved ones pass away, memory keeps them near. Their voice, their smile, their kindness remains like a soft echo in the heart, reminding us that memory can outlast even mortality. If we step back and look at memory not just as science, not just as biology, but as mystery, we find something profoundly beautiful. Each person's memory is like a painting, made of colors only they can see. No two memories of the same event are ever identical, for memory is not a perfect photograph. It is living art, painted with emotion, imagination, and time. This is why two people can recall the same day so differently. Memory is not a record. it is an interpretation, and this makes it endlessly unique, endlessly human. Memory is not only about the past, it also gives us strength for the future. By remembering times when we overcame difficulty, we find courage for challenges yet to come. By remembering love, we keep believing in connection. By remembering beauty, we remain open to wonder. And so, when we look at memory in its fullness, we see not only a function of the brain, but the very poetry of human life. Memory is the thread that ties yesterday to today, the bridge that carries us toward tomorrow, the mirror that shows us who we are and who we have loved. It is not just science, it is beauty. And as you drift into sleep tonight, may your own memories surround you like a soft blanket. May the joyful ones bring you peace. May the difficult ones bring you wisdom. And may you awaken with a heart open to creating new memories, new beauty, new meaning. So I wish you calm rest, gentle dreams, and a peaceful heart. Good night, dear listener, and goodbye,